SHB, compared to some of the other leading banks in Vietnam, it's a little bit behind on the digital transformation. So we have to then move quickly to catch and exceed where the other banks are at. And so part of our decision is thinking through within our 5-year strategy, what is the role of digital in creating a better customer experience for both our retail customers as well as our corporate customers. And our chairman, to his credit, said, look, ultimately, I want to make sure that all our customers love our bank. They love our bank, so there's a big emotional attachment to it. And so he said, help me make SHB the most loved digital bank in Vietnam. Oh. And that was our mandate. And that's scary because it's how do you define that? How do you measure that? And that's something that we've been tasked with. And so to do that, we took baby steps. To say, okay, in our strategy for all our target customers, segments, profiles, in our CVP, this is the role of digital. So we found out what is digital in all the different journeys. Based on that, we then compiled the scope. From that scope, we did an assessment to understand, is our current banking platform sufficient to meet the current need and future need? And we said no. And so then we decided to embark very quickly on finding a new digital banking platform to help us deliver on this amazing vision for our chairman. And it all started in October 2021 when we set up the digital division. And then by November, we were already issuing RFPs out. We then went through a rigorous process, selected our preferred vendor, which was Temenos and the Infinity solution. We signed that deal and officially kicked off on the 28th of April, 2022. Right. So in only a very few months, we did the whole process in parallel with building our existing team to prepare for that. And then very quickly, we did first MVP, which is having the Infinity solution installed into our premise, in our technology stack within 4 months. And then within 9 months, we released the first working version of the new fully integrated application to our internal staff.
Amazing.
Yeah, so it's been a very rapid fire journey.
Okay, all within 12 months.
Yes.
Okay.
A lot of the banks in Vietnam, given we're not that mature a banking market, when you think about it, most banks that are privately held were started in 1993, 1994, so they're getting to their 29th, 30-year birthday. So it's not long enough to have a lot of maturity. And a lot of the advanced ways of measuring customer engagement, customer experience, like Net Promoter Score, don't really exist in the Vietnamese market. Right. So we use more rudimentary measures of understanding customer. So we do surveys to customers. We bring customers in as part of our full design process. So for example, as part of our digital division, we apply design thinking as a methodology. And as part of that, we bring customers in. We ask for their input. We show them our prototypes. They co-create and co-design that with us. We also bring staff in as a proxy for customers so they can also think through whether this will fit customers or not. So for us, we think of the customer experience by bringing customers in and working with us on the process. And if they're happy enough with it, then that provides us a proxy. That's one way of isolating that. The second way is you have to release product quickly. And when you release product quickly, you will then get feedback from your customers, which will validate whether your hypothesis for the first MVP, the second MVP, the third MVP is correct. Right. Yeah, and if it's correct, great, keep going. If it isn't, then stop, reflect, redesign, and go again. And after several iterations, you will be pretty close to what the customers need. You don't need any models. You don't need any way of forecasting. You have real proof with real data that this is how it's done. Now, if we take a step back, the way we envisage digital to create the better experience is by having a true omni-channel experience. I think a lot of the banks in Vietnam are still working on a multi-channel strategy. Right. And they don't have a platform that can synchronize across the channels seamlessly. Because just investing in mobile only is expensive, investing in internet banking only is expensive, investing in a branch teller experience is expensive, or a sales staff app is expensive. But it's very rare that an organization has a chance to, from day one, think from scratch again, how should all of these engagement layers work together to create a great experience? And that's our starting point. And through this, we've thought through our current and our future journeys and interactions, from account opening to lending products, to transacting, to servicing, how all these plays together. And through that, I think we will the best experience possible in the market, and then takes us a step closer to being loved. As a bank, we always have large vendors who come to us and offer help, and most of these are consulting companies. So we've had at various points, the big consulting firms like the BCGs, your McKinseys give us a view of what our technology roadmap should look like. We've had IBM, we've had EY, we've worked with ADB, we work with IFC. So everyone's well-intentioned and they've given us a view on how we should deliver this. But ultimately, for us, we said it's great to have this technology roadmap, but it needs to align to our strategy. And from that, we started to decompose it. And based on that, we then formed our own independent view of how we should assess these vendors.
Right.
And then we followed quite a strict process to then land on the vendor of choice for us, which is then the Temenos Infinity solution. A lot of the risk you have when you work with a new vendor is hypothetical. A lot of it's hypothetical, and we can spend a lot of time and effort thinking through these hypothetical risk and writing these into the contracts. And lots of organizations get caught up with it. They spend 3, 6, 9 months, just reviewing, teams of lawyers arguing about terms and contracts to work out what are the risks, how do you risk, even though the risk can be minute. Now we've taken a slightly larger picture view to say that we're already behind where the other players are at. We can't afford to have all these long processes, so we have to take a degree of risk in order to generate a higher return in the future and to speed up our execution. And so in doing that, we said to Temenos when we went through, and they were our final negotiating partner, look, this is our aspiration, this is what we want to do, this is our intent. What is your aspiration? What do you want to do? What is your intent? And now make sure our teams write that in and trust that that's going to play out. And 99 of these clauses will never play out. So let's not spend so much time arguing. Where I will give you, where you will give me, and I'm not going to second guess. I'm not going to ask you to go to your senior executives to get more sign off. So we had about 2 or 3 sessions where the people in the room were fully empowered to make the decisions, make the call on the contract, and then we closed it. I think we did the whole negotiation in 1 month.
In 1 month.
1 month. That includes multi-language review, compliance, procurement, legal, and then sign off. So it was very rapid, but it was built on mutual trust, that we trust each other. And through that trust, that we're not going to be taken advantage of, they're not going to be taken advantage of, and we want what is best. Because I believe if we're successful, Temenos will be successful. Right. Yeah, we don't want Temenos to just be the only ones that are worse off as a result. Hybrid, because we are implementing both mobile, internet banking, and also an omni-channel branch platform. And so we have some of it in cloud, some of it on-prem. So for example, our branch application is on-prem, purely because there's some latency issues. But yeah, so it's a combination for us, which works for now, but our aspiration future is to move it to full cloud. I think
already banks that
the government is very supportive of that. A lot of banks are exploring that, but then the regulation is catching up. Yeah, so lots of banks are taking it on guidance from the government on what they should do. But now, look, recently there's been new directives coming out to say, okay, how should you be collecting, storing, getting permission, editing data of yourself and your providers? What is sensitive data, what isn't sensitive data? So this is only just coming out now. And as there's more clarity in that, that will also provide guidance to everyone around what is stored in the cloud, what is not stored in the cloud, and when it's in cloud, what is in country versus what is out of country. Is cloud in Singapore, cloud in Hong Kong okay, or is cloud in data center based in Vietnam is what you need to be, and what data, so if I have sensitive data, your name, date of birth, address, phone number, can I store that offshore, onshore? A lot of that is we're using Azure based upon Temenos recommendation. Because they integrate better with the Temenos solution we bought. And for me, speed is very important. So if they've worked together previously, that means there's some inherited learnings. And so we'll take guidance from Temenos on what should be the best solution. In parallel, we're building the new engagement layer. So you think of a system of engagement, and then you have system of record. So we've decoupled the two and put in place an ESB layer. which allows us through APIs to connect. So then, because this is part of a larger technology roadmap,
Right.
We have to replace our core banking. It's old, it hasn't been updated for a long time. And so we're in the process of upgrading that. We didn't want that to then be a key dependency upon us changing the front end. So we then implemented the ESB in parallel with redesigning the front end, integrating through the ESB. The ESB then integrates back into the existing core. We are in the process of finalizing the upgrade for our core banking. And in doing so, because we're a little bit behind, we're upgrading lots of things, card management system, core banking system, loan origination systems, everything. And so we can't afford to have the dependency. So the ESB is a way for us to at least decouple all the core systems from the engagement systems. And when we don't have those systems yet, we'll still connect through to the existing systems. And when the new systems are going in place, they'll connect through APIs back again. If this is from the board, that was yesterday. The reality is we need to do this in the next 5 years.
In the next 5 years.
And the order in which we do it, we're still thinking through and reorganizing while we start to run a couple of no regrets changes to our systems. Yeah.
Right. Very complex.
Very complex. Yeah. So we've debated a lot of this, but luckily our CIO is a core banking expert. He did the first core banking implementation in Vietnam. He's, I think, in parallel writing a book on core banking in Vietnam. And so he's got some great views around vendors, the way we should architecture it. And I think it's very much in line with what we're seeing what Temenos is doing, right? So how do you simplify the core? How do you have a non-core core? And so lots of banks in Vietnam have gone and customized too much the core, and it's no longer a true core banking.
Right.
Whereas our CEO's view is we need to bring it back to what core was meant to do, which is pretty much just as a GL. Everything else stays outside of that. So we re-architecture.
Kind of product factory and
that's exactly right. So it's just there to store product, all the reporting, all the interactions, everything else needs to stay out of it. So I think there's a couple of different ways that we measure the value. And in parallel with my role in digital, I also have a role in retail banking.
Right.
And for any bank, you work off what's a concept called a driver tree. And in the driver tree, you break down pretty much everything from product to customer to channel. And so for us, channel is an overlay. And in channel, we need to think about what is channel's role in originating, transacting, and servicing. So in origination, we have very specific KPIs around the percentage of sales that can now be done on digital versus branch. And we have a transition state for that. We have the percentage of transactions that used to be done in branch, but now we want to do online. And we also have a percentage of services that used to be done in branch and now done online. And we have a 5-year roadmap of transitioning all of that. Obviously, the direction is for us to reduce all that. So that's one set of metrics. The second set of metrics is if we do that, how much incremental revenue are we going to make? How much indirect costs are we going to save? So, for example, a passport-based lending product used to take at least 2 hours in the branch. It can now be done 2 minutes online. We've essentially saved the network almost 2 hours, but the network, if they sit there and on Facebook and Zalo and TikTok, we haven't saved anything. So we've got a concept of we're creating capacity for the network can then utilize and become more efficient.
Right.
So those are some of the end outcome metrics, and then finally some customer related. So what is the customer satisfaction with the application? What is the customer satisfaction with the specific journeys? And so inside our app, we're building ways of measuring that success as well, so that we can have real-time feedback on how the different journeys and sub-journeys are operating in the app. Absolutely. So any bank has to have a view on the value of channel, incremental to if channel didn't exist. What would it be? It doesn't have to be correct, but you need a view. And then that allows you to measure, are you delivering? And luckily, we're exceeding most of our numbers at the moment. I'm not a technical guy, right? So I've come from business and to now do digital. So for me, the thinking is very simple. If I can do it myself, all right, I have to ask, do I have the capability and how much time is it going to take me? Then if I say that's too long, for me to build this from scratch, it might take me 3 years with this much money. Now, what's my alternative option? Can I buy it?
Right.
And if I buy it, how much is it going to cost me and how much time is it going to take? So where we landed was that we could build it, but it's not going to take us, it's going to take us too long to get there. So the decision to go with Temenos is really to shorten our time to market with a product that we can then customize on top of quickly.
Oh.
And as a result, we've been able to implement it quickly as well as start to roll it out quickly.
Oh.
And I'm not a perfectionist, so I don't expect Temenos to be able to build me a product that fits 100% of my customer base and the nuances of the Vietnamese market.
Okay.
And so as long as they can deliver 60 or 70%, I'm happy to hack and customize the 30 or 40 that remain to make sure that it gives me enough differentiation in the market.